So in this video, we are going to be discussing the linear nth term. So what is the nth term? The nth term is just an equation that allows you to find any specific term in a sequence. So in this case, we're talking about linear sequences. So if we start off with our sequence, let's say we have 5, 10, 15, 20. So as always, we start off by finding the first difference. So 5 to 10, we add 5, 10 to 15, we add 5, 15 to 20, we add 5. So since the first difference is constant, we know that this is a linear sequence. Now, each of these terms have a name. So the first term is 5, and it's denoted by capital T and then a subscript 1. Then the second term is T2, T3, T4, and so on. And what we want to find is Tn. So if you were asked to find the 100th term in this sequence, instead of writing it all out and adding 5 each time, you want an equation where you can just find it knowing that it's the 100th term. So for a linear sequence, the first thing we do to find the nth term is use the first difference and you multiply it by n. So in this case, the first difference is 5, and we're going to multiply that by n. So first we are going to test this equation, because that might work on its own. So if we test for the first term, we have t1, and because we've replaced the n here with 1, we replace the n on the right hand side with 1 as well. So we would have 5 multiplied by 1, and that is equal to 5. Now, if you look back up the top, our first term was 5. So we know that that works. So let's test another one. Let's test the second term. So T2 is going to be 5 multiplied by 2, which is 10. And again, that matches our second term in the sequence. So now we know that our equation for the nth term is simply Tn is equal to 5 times n for this sequence. However, this may not always work. So let's look at another sequence where that doesn't work out as nicely. So if we have 4, 7, 10, and 13. So again, finding the first difference, we add 3, and add 3. So the first difference is constant, so we know it's a linear sequence. So then labeling all of these terms again, our first term is 4, our second term is 7, third term is 10, and our fourth term is 13, and we want to find an equation for our nth term. So as before, we're going to start off letting the nth term be the first difference, which is 3, multiplied by n. So then we're going to test it. So if we test for the first term, t1 is going to be 3 times 1, which is equal to 3. Now we have a problem because that isn't our first term. So here we've calculated t1 is equal to 3, but we know over here that t1 is actually equal to 4. So what we're going to do is t1 is actually 3 times 1 plus 1 is equal to 4. So we're just adding 1 to our original equation. So then we're going to let Tn is equal to 3n plus 1. Now let's test that equation. So if we have the second term, we have 3 times 2 plus 1, which is 6, plus 1, which is 7. And that matches our second term in our sequence. And again, we can test it again. For our third term, T3 is 3 times n, which is 3 in this case, because it's the third term, plus 1. That gives us 9 plus 1, which is 10, which again is our third term in the sequence over here. So now we've tested it enough, and we know that Tn for this equation is simply 3n plus 1. So that is how you find the nth term for a linear sequence. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.